All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 39 of the Perigee Podcast. I'm your host, Chief Master Sergeant of the Space Force, John Bentivegna. B9 is here, broadcasting from the Pentagon. Today, we have some very special guests with us. In studio with me here right now is our own Undersecretary of the Department of the Air Force, the Honorable Matthew Lohmeier. And on the line, calling in from Colorado, we have actually the Guardian Arena winners from Guardian Arena 3. So just to give you some context, today's December 17th, and we're just coming off what I like to call Space Week down in Florida. It was a big week for us. We started off with the Guardian Arena competition down at Patrick Space Force Base in Cape Canaveral, and then we rolled into a Guardian Development Day down in Orlando, into the Space Force Association Space Power Conference, and then ended the week with the 10-miler back on Cape Canaveral. So a lot of things that occurred last week for the Space Force as we get ready for our birthday on Saturday coming up on the 20th. So I want to take an opportunity to kind of get some guests to talk about how their week was last week in the context of the Guardian spirit and the culture of fitness that the Department of the Air Force is rolling out, and how important it is as warfighters that we embrace that culture of fitness. So before we get started, I want to do some introductions with our teammates that are on the line. So if we'll start with the captain. If you just want to introduce yourselves to the audience and tell us where you work and what you do, a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely, Chief. Thank you. This is Captain Cohen Williams. I'm currently the Combat Detachment Commander at 3 SOPs for our LEO RPO mission, so orbital warfare in a slightly lower Earth orbit. And so, we're stationed there at Colorado Springs over at Schriever Space Force Base and been there for about 2.5 years now.
All right. Thank you.
I'll go ahead, Chief. This is Lieutenant Jacob Studman. I work with Captain Williams over at 3 SOPs. I am an engagement team commander over there, and I am a content engineer. So I lead a team of 5, and we carry out sorties and doing flyouts both in exercise and real life.
All right. Thanks.
My name is Lieutenant Holcomb. I'm in 1 SOPs just across the hall of my teammates. I'm a mission planner within the mission planning cell.
Hey, thanks a lot. I think, as a matter of fact, as we're getting ready for this, I think, you're on shift right now, sir? Do they have to come track you down and pull you off the ops floor?
Yes, Chief. I was doing some things, but I have some time to talk to some very important people, so they let me go for a little bit.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. And Mr. Lohmeier, thank you so much for joining us today. I know your time is very compressed today. A lot of things going on.
A lot of things going on today.
So I really appreciate you spending time with us. So speaking of, last week, so how was the 10-miler?
I didn't get to participate in the events earlier in the week. I'm still recovering in mind and body from the 10-miler that was last Saturday. I shared with the group there that I think that was going to be the longest distance I'd run ever in one setting. I'd made it up to about half of that distance in training prior to that point. Outstanding event overall. Astronaut Nick Hague was there to tell us about how the previous year he had been in space on the ISS running the same event virtually. And that's a little bit harder here on terra firma. and I had a chance, at the very beginning of the race, I thought, I'm in pretty good position. I'm at the 7 minute per mile pace marker. I'm postured to come in the front of the pack here. I was feeling very good about my training. I was confident, and then they blew the horn and started the race, and I watched that flag disappear, and I started to fade back further and further. I ended up about 10 minutes a mile. I felt pretty proud of myself after that, but awesome. Very good event, historic location. A lot of our space history getting up to the moon, which was bright and high in the sky while we were out there, has been launched out of that site. We got to see some of those historic launch sites, and it was really well attended. I think probably about 1,700 people were there in the dark hours of the morning, and it was just perfect day, perfect temperature, successful race, and it was an outstanding show.
Yeah. I did the previous 2 years. This year, Kathy and I were not able to be there. So I'm jealous, but I'm really glad you had a chance to do it. And I did get a couple of photographs some Guardians took of you. You were sporting your Space Force PT gear.
I was.
Yeah.
In fact, I went down to buy it a couple of days before the event and was turned away because I didn't have a Space Force identifier on my CAT card. They said only Space Force personnel can buy this.
Yeah.
And eventually prevailed and got the first of the PT gear. But Yeah, that was one of the things that I think is great about events like that is it brings the whole community together.
Yeah.
And as we talk a lot about this term culture, we throw it around often. It's difficult to establish a culture. I think a lot of it has to be done organically. But when you've got teams of people coming together to compete, like they did in Guardian Arena, or for a fun event like the 10 miler, as hard as it was, it's fun when you get the community to come together. And what I saw throughout most of that race is smiles plastered across people's faces, huffing and puffing to be sure, but a lot of smiles, a lot of conversation, a lot of good food, and a lot of photos, good memories. And that is one of the ways we foster culture and community is by showing the rest of the force who wasn't present the good experience that we had there. And I think it's like courage.
Yes.
Culture can be, it's transmissible, it is contagious, and people get the picture of what fitness really looks like.
Yeah, I thought I saw some photographs, to that point, where other stations, I think at Vandenberg, and I think maybe you're over in Al-Udeid, I think they did their own version of the good Space Force run that day as well. They couldn't make it out to Florida, so they were just doing it in their home stations, which is really nice.
I have to point out, I felt a little bit cheated because, and I'll share this with the guys on the call as well. Chief B9 caught me in the hallway. I was a little bit nervous. Maybe he could tell I was a little bit nervous. It was about a week before the event. And he says, "Hey, you're going to love it." And I thought, really? Am I going to love running 10 miles? He says, "You're going to love it. There's all these watering stops, these stations there. You can stop and talk with the people and thank them for showing up and supporting the event." And I was really looking forward to each of those stops. And I got there, no one was stopping and talking to anybody. They kept jogging and they grabbed the cups and they kept running. And I felt kind of shamed into continuing to run. So I stopped for maybe 5 or 10 seconds at each of those stops and didn't get quite the break that I was hoping for at each of those. But a lot of people showed up to support the event. In fact, we had folks playing guitar on the side of the road. In fact, just at the right times to keep you going. It was really
Was it the guy with his dog?
Did he have a dog?
There was a guy there last year who was playing guitar.
He might have had a dog.
I think he was a wounded warrior, retired, and he was out there playing. It was, but he had his dog with him when I saw him.
It was phenomenal. Heard him for about a mile before I got there. And took me a while to get there, so I got to hear a lot of music.
That's great. Like you said, it's a community event. And that's what, when I run it, like to the point, right? It's not a race, but it's meant to have a chance to connect and engage with space, with like-minded, warriors or just community who love the Space Force and love, the history on Cape Canaveral. So I'm glad you had a chance to experience that.
Yeah, it was good.
Now, sir, you were down there, I think, doing some other business in the beginning of the week. So, and I think you've had a chance to travel and see some Guardians, right, in the operational centers and some other stuff. So, what have you thought so far? What's your opinion? What have you learned from the Guardians you've had a chance to engage as you've had a chance to go out and visit the force?
I'll give you a short answer and then a little bit longer answer.
Yeah.
So thoughts overall about our airmen and our Guardians. I'm impressed. They're intelligent. They are taking fitness seriously, more seriously than I think when I last served in uniform 5 years ago. I'm impressed by our leaders. And I think there is a complexity to both the threat and and a dynamism, if you will, to the technology that we're fielding. It's happening all very rapidly. Yeah. And I think our folks do a very good job training to that threat, given whatever limitations they happen to have wherever they happen to be. Some of the places we go, you see they've got quite phenomenal training facilities and tools that they need, and elsewhere not as much. And yet, I go back to, I know in the Air Force, we have integrity, service, and excellence, of course. And we've got 4 C's in the Space Force, and I see that in the Force everywhere I go. Now, more specifically, that's my short answer. In Florida, before I did the 10-miler, we were at Eglin and at Hurlburt, and interacted largely with both our AFSOC community and our flying community. Got to get in the back seat of an Eagle for the first time in 12, 13 years, which was phenomenal. Get to see the F-15EX. And there are really impressive and important ways in which space facilitates the capabilities we have in the entire Joint Force. And ended up also in the AFSOC community seeing a bunch of things that, of course, don't work well without space. And I know space itself isn't just an enhancer. It's not just an enabler, and it is that very well. Also, it's, in fact, the enabler. But it is rapidly becoming the pointy end of the spear.
Yes.
And I've had a chance to interact with a number of our guardians as well. In fact, I was really excited to interact with the folks at Peterson and Schriever, in fact, and ended up running into Miller issues the whole day that I was trying to get out there. And so I do anticipate getting back out there. That whole day was canceled right after I got in the seat. And one of the things, to just carry on this thread for just a moment, that I've really liked, one of the things we've done behind the glass doors on the E-ring of the fourth floor of the Pentagon and the Air Force and Space Force hallways that my team in the Undersecretary's office has done in the theme of culture fitness is that we have my AFSOC SMA has been orchestrating Friday morning PT events, group events. We close our office. Before the workday starts, we go out, we run, and I shared this with the folks at the T-10 miler. We run from the Pentagon along the Potomac and go off to the Lincoln Memorial and back. It's about a 4-mile round trip run. We work out, do circuit workouts outside, and we decided after just doing that for a week or two, we need to broaden the invitation, invite other folks, and we've had Space Force folks show up to that. And am I allowed to mention names of some folks on here?
You can do whatever you like.
I'll name drop her. She won't mind, but Cardio Slaughter, an old SAS classmate of mine and someone I'd worked with who's here in the building. She rounded up a bunch of Guardians, joined us out there as a team, and we ran to the Lincoln Memorial together. And I just think, outstanding leadership goes a long way at facilitating that culture. Yeah,
I appreciate it. You said that, from your perspective, from 5 years ago when you were in service and made that transition, that you think that people are taking kind of human performance and PT and those things maybe a little more seriously. One of the things that in the Space Force, as you know, with the holistic health approach is really focused on, human performance. And that goes to, when you said the job that we're doing is difficult, right? And, you have to be physically fit. You have to be cognitively ready to be able to, make decisions quickly in high stress environments. And that really is the nexus when we talk about why General Saltzman envisioned Guardian Arena was to kind of bring all those things together, right? You got to be physically fit, you got to be able to work good as a team, and you have to be able to know your skill craft to make decisions quickly and leverage your teammates to get through tasks.
Yep.
So going over to the Guardian Arena winning team. So now Captain Williams, I have to ask you, all right? So the name of the team from Delta 9 was, let me see if I can pronounce this right, Inheriar, is that correct?
That's about 95% spot on, sir. It actually comes out to Einherjar.
Einherjar. Okay, so can you give us a little context of how you chose that name?
Well, absolutely. First of all, I want to shout out Sergeant Ravik, one of our support staff for the team, one of our 97 KIS Intel Bubbas. He's deep into the Delta 9 Norse culture aspect, and Einherjar is a band of mythic warriors from Norse mythology. And so he thought it was apt that we should be named after them.
Well, you're named appropriately because you were the winners of Guardian Arena this year. And I think by a large margin of points above the second place team. So I got to ask, Mr. Lohmeier was talking about the culture, the team aspect, how we take this seriously. So from your team's perspective, how did you prepare for this? Like, how do you, when you guys were going through the regionals, how did you, approach this to be the strong team that you were when you came out to Guardian Arena?
I think General Haig put it aptly in the introduction comments they made to all the competing teams where, with regionals, all the teams were selected based off of the best individual scores, right? And I think especially with some of the different cultures that we have in the military, I think the Department of the Air Force as well as the Space Force have always kind of valued that individual strength and culture. But what he mentioned was that the teams that were going to win this year's Guardian Arena were going to be the teams that not only prepared well, but were able to function as a team, to break down that individual aspect and actually move forward as that really sharp team. And, to be honest, our team, I don't feel like we did anything, necessarily unique or different if you were to go and work with some special operations communities or work with the Army, infantry platoons or work with a Marine, rifle squad. It's the same functions that all come from centuries of military effectiveness in building teams. Is we trained together for about 4 days a week for 2 or 3 months. and we studied pretty intensely, just based off of the things that we thought, Major Reynolds and Adam Whistler and, you, Chief, might be interested in quizzing us on. And we just really just prepared, trained as a team, and built in that cognitive level of teamwork where, sometimes you don't even need to speak to be able to move forward.
Oh, thanks for that insight. I appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people will be taking notes as they prepare for Garden Arena in 26. Lieutenant Studman, if I can ask, did I read correctly that you're an ultra runner?
Yes, Chief, I am. So I just moved out to Colorado, I guess, last year from tech school. And it's if you're a runner out here, it's hard to not become an ultra runner out here. So picked it up in full stride. I got 2 50-milers and a 50K under my belt this year, and I'm looking for a 100-miler next year.
Wow. Oh, that's dedication. That's a passion that you have. And I think we said that through the 14 stations that you had alone on Tuesday, it was a little over half a marathon that the teams had to run. And that's not including the movements that you did at actually the events. That was just in between, moving between the 14 events. But I mean, you're running in OCP pants and boots, right? A lot of times you might be carrying some stuff. So, when you think about, sir, your training for ultra marathon running and your conditioning for that, how was it when you're running around in OCPs and boots?
Chief, it was entirely different. One thing that was really important that our team did was with about, I'd say 3 weeks left, we switched to doing all of our workouts in OCPs. So all three of us were, actually the whole team, so the alternates and then the trainers themselves, were all coming to the morning PTs in full OCPs. And we were actually training with our blouses on as well because it's cold in Trevor right now. And getting the time on feet in those boots and getting used to that, that's entirely different. I had to completely change my fitness style, but it was really beneficial to have that time to train in the OCPs.
Now, when you think about ultra running, I'm assuming, sir, when you do that, I know you're doing it by yourself?
I am. Yep. It's a passion that I kind of pursue by myself, but there's plenty of people you meet along the long way. I sign up for races with other individuals, and then you always have a support crew similar to like what we had at Guardian Arena. So I choose my team to help me make it through a race.
Yeah. So, from a kind of other side of the aspect of that, Lieutenant Holcomb, you, if I read correctly, Academy graduate, and you're on the football team for 3 or 4 of the years. Actually, big team sport. So, what did you think? What did you learn from playing football at the academy that was beneficial as you brought that to a Guardian Arena team?
Yes, Chief. So playing football at the academy, I was on the offensive line, so you don't have a lot of glory to shine as yourself. It's mainly a team sport, playing with the offensive line, and that's what we did with the Guardian Arena. We planned together, ate together, especially before the competition, and then, of course, worked out together. So playing together and not just trying to do everything by myself was huge. Like Captain Williams said, it wasn't the 3 best people who won. It was just the best teamwork that prevailed.
Did you play offensive line?
Yes, sir. I played right tackle.
And you were able to keep up with our ultra runner in Guardian Arena?
Yes, sir. Thankfully, I've been able to lose quite a bit of pounds since my playing weight.
That's impressive.
So the running was a little better.
Yeah,
Lieutenant Holcomb crushed the running.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because one of the objectives of Guardian Arena, sir, was they had, was it a 10-foot rope that they gave you? And so they had a rope and they all had to run holding the rope, so they couldn't separate. So they had to do things together as a team. And seeing, obviously when you're putting a team together, but the different body types, whether it be, some very muscular, big, more runners, frame size, but also the height difference. There were some teams where it had a tall person and a very short person, and like 3 steps to every one. And it was, as we watched that, I was like, man, to compensate. And some of them were just working so hard to keep the team together. But that was part of the objective, was the teamwork aspect of that. So
very cool.
So when you think about, the culture of fitness that as a department we're rolling out in the initiatives, and hearing about the mission planning and their approach to fitness and some of the things that you've learned, like a holistic approach that we're doing as a service, where do you see the department going as this culture continues to evolve across the DAF?
I'll answer it this way. From where we sit in the Pentagon, unless it's one thing to put out a policy memo. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to say a few words about it here and there. I think for a culture to truly develop, it's not just about Secretary Troy Mink or Matt Lohmeier or our chiefs or our command chiefs echoing the language of a policy memorandum from the Pentagon alone. You select the right leaders, the right command teams, and then organically from the ground up, we enable a fit force, a holistic approach to health in the ways that we've just heard them describe. We have to, this is hard depending on the mission people do, but we always talk about, hey, find the time to work out. Yes. That's a piece of it. It requires some planning. It's good for your physical fitness, but it's also, hey, plan your meals and take care of yourself spiritually, mentally, and all of those things in one grand whole actually require some deliberate exertion from the individuals and units involved in this culture. And it's not enough that I could talk about this till I'm blue in the face. For example, Secretary Mink in his initial memo that came out trying to implement SecWar's fitness guidance effectively said, hey, the undersecretary is going to be responsible for trying to implement this culture of fitness. And I thought, hey, that's pretty exciting in the first thought. And then the next thought is, how in the world am I supposed to do that, right, from where I sit? And, we've done a few trips now in which I've tried, for example, to set an example by going and actually doing workouts with just last week at Eggland with some of our F-35 students, a week or two before that at Columbus Air Force Base with a UPT base. I hope to join our Guardians here at Schriever at some point soon and go work out with some of our Guardians. But that's about as much as I can do from where I sit to show that at least we're taking it seriously as both political leadership as well as uniform leadership. Yeah. And then really the onus is on our command teams and the folks on this call to set an example for others, to show that they are carving out time in our already nearly unmanageable and busy schedules, as the SecWar says every day, whatever that looks like in your life and your line of work. But it's about our priorities, right? And you do the things that you love and you prioritize. And in our line of work and in the profession of arms, at this critical juncture in American history, we prioritize this or we fail. That's the bottom line. Because the holistic approach, human performance, is not just about getting a workout in.
That's right.
There was, and this was said to me at Columbus Air Force Base the other day. I kind of liked it. They said, there was a time in which if you packed celery and carrots and hummus to work, you'd be mocked by your teammates who weren't eating as healthy. It was the Hot Pocket culture, the corn dog culture, whatever. Right. They said, we're trying to reverse that here so that if someone pulls out a corn dog or a Hot Pocket, we got to tease them a little bit and mock them and say, hey, where's your carrots and your celery and your hummus and your protein? Yeah. There needs to be a mind shift that takes place in order to properly take care of the human being. And fortunately, social media, YouTube, this stuff is quite popular when you start looking for it. And we've got all sorts of information out there. And we've hired some great folks at our bases as well to help facilitate proper human performance and function. And so we just need to use those tools that are being made available to us. And I think we'll continue to resource that, is my hope. Yeah. And enable our folks to grow that from the ground up organically.
Yeah, to your point about accountability to one another as professionals, I think is really important. My team, I try to exercise regularly because it's just it's my stress relief, right? It's me. It's the me time that I personally just decide that helps me through the day. Fill my cup before I can pour into others. But last week I said it was a really busy week. We're at the conference in Garden Arena, and the schedules were just grueling. Because it was great. We try to engage with as many airmen and guardians as we possibly can when I'm on the road. And I wasn't hitting the gym, and my team was like, hey, you got an hour and a half before the next event, and they're encouraging me to take your time, do what you got to do. Yep. And it's helpful, right? Because it kind of keeps it in the forefront. And I think it kind of drives to your point about that culture, allowing us to be the best versions of ourselves, but really not be embarrassed when you got to take the time and you have to do it.
Right.
And it kind of spreads, right? It's contagious sometimes. Yep. And you talk about the carrots. I do find it interesting now when we go someplace And people sometimes will get the easy choice, donuts on the table or some cookies, and barely anybody touches them, right? They're going for the other
times
stuff.
Are changing.
That's right. Times are changing. And that's good, right?
And we're all getting older, and so our body judges us and keeps the score.
Yeah. And I was going to say, for the workouts you just said you've done with the UPT class and F-35 students, those are young crowds, sir.
Yeah, they're young crowds. I'd like to say they took it easy on me, but I think they didn't change their workout while I was there. In fact, I had the fun idea. I thought it was a fun idea. When I showed up at the Air Force Academy 20 years ago, I couldn't do a pull-up. And so I was embarrassed, and I've tried to do pull-ups ever since. So I said to the guy that was running the human performance lab there, the craft workouts there, I said, hey, I want you to find someone that's about my weight, 240.
Yeah.
And as long as they look like they weigh about my weight, I'd like to challenge them to a pull-up contest. And we did that at the end of our circuit workout. And they brought over this baseball player who'd just come from the Air Force Academy, $180. And I thought, well, that's not what I was looking for, but it was fun, and I thought something about the competitive aspect to a friendly competition.
Yes,
is helpful, and I've actually since then had a lot of people both tease me for that, and also they've seen a video that's shown up, and also say, "Hey, I saw your video. That's really fun." And so I think to your point, Chief, we are examples for one another.
Yes.
We can hold each other accountable to some extent, especially command teams can drive that in their units. And we can have fun with it as well. Yeah. And I think it's great morale building, great culture building within the Space Force.
Yes, sir. So I know your time is short.
It is,
I want to see if I can get one question in. So, sir, as a veteran guardian and a veteran airman, right? Because just like a lot of us, you were an airman and you became a guardian. Now you've kind of made that transition and now undersecretary of the Department of the Air Force. Any words of wisdom, any advice for guardians that are out there?
Yeah, I'm going to hark back to your 4 C's. I've interacted admittedly more with Air Force audiences than Space Force audiences. So I'm often talking about integrity and service and excellence. Just spoke at a BMT graduation a week and a half ago, and that was basically my messaging. I had a few minutes. What can I say? I'd like you to take your character seriously. And in the 4 C's, character, of course, is the first of those 4. It's foundational. And our commitment and our courage, and what was the other one? Connection. Yeah, and I'll just focus on the character piece because it's tied right in with integrity.
Yes.
I really think that we've got a unique opportunity in the profession of arms to focus on that, to have some structure to our work life, our daily regimen. The military teaches you that to some degree, but then there's the integrity piece, the character piece, that I think we've got a great opportunity to start to get that right in our lives if we haven't already. You will take that with you the rest of your life. You'll take off the uniform someday. I don't care if you serve 40 years in uniform. At some point, you live with yourself and you live with your decisions that you've made in accountability to the American people and your oath that you take. And it starts with your integrity, your character. And so that's the advice I'd leave with anyone listening, is that they ought to think about that if they're not already. And they're surrounded by good examples in our line of work who inspire proper character.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So, in the spirit of a culture of fitness, and on behalf of the winning team from Guardian Arena, Ein Harriar, we wanted to give you one of the Guardian Arena 3 patches that we had.
Thank you.
Those are prized possessions that the competitors got a chance to wear around, showing that they made it into the arena and competed.
With the Coliseum on it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good. Well, thanks, Chief.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you spending some time with us today. I know you're really busy, and I think maybe I'll see you later on today.
I think so. Yep.
So
thank you.
So thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So teammates, I wanted to ask you, as we heard about the culture fitness and what we try to do and what Guardian Arena means for us as we try to combine the physical, the cognitive, the tactical work. When you talk about the stations that you had, particularly on Tuesday, was the one that you found more challenging than others? Because you did a lot of preparation, you did a lot of training, but was there one that when you got to it and just, wow, this is harder than maybe you thought it was going to be?
I think from my side, I mean, we did very well on all of the physical aspects of the stations. I think we may have missed a single point overall on any of the physical stations. The challenge was, I think, in the early section of the event on Tuesday, getting our stride on the academic sections. For example, I remember us doing the ski erg challenge where we were forced to rotate our team members through some pretty intense cardio sprints. And also try to do effectively, sixth grade algebra, solving for area problems. And that turned out to be the one that we actually struggled on the most, just because we were, early in on the competition and we're working on that actual adaptation element of our teamwork. And I think that's one of the areas where we struggled the most early on, was not as much on the physical, but more on the how do we balance that with the concurrent academics.
Yeah, I think that was one of the challenges. Was that the one for the radar cross section of the satellite?
Yes, Chief.
Yeah, General Saltzman and I actually got a really a kick out of that one as we were working through that. You know what? I liked too that as they set up these stations, I don't think every single one had a physical aspect to it. Like there was Station 5, which was a cyber challenge, where I think it was just 3 laptops, and as a team just had to work through. Kind of like a mission defense team, working through trying to find, I guess, an intruder through Wireshark that was on the simulated network that was thrown together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think 2 of the actual stations themselves lacked a physical challenge, and we were able to use that to our advantage by doing those last, so we'd be a little bit more rested and prepared for the final competition that was led by the CrossFit CEO, Dave Castro.
Yeah.
But no, those were absolutely probably some of the more challenging stations in and of themselves.
Yeah. And, the team, as they were putting them together, I got a chance, because some of the individuals who were in charge of the stations were actually the creators of some of the problem sets. So, you mentioned Major Reynolds before, who was, critical to putting this together, but Station 13 was his, and I got a kick out of it was a fictionary constellation. It was called the Resilient Autonomous Network for Generalized Earth Orbiting Response Scheduling. The acronym was RANGERS, and as you know, he's our space ranger. He went through the Ranger School a year or so ago. But just reading, some of the cognitive technical challenges that they were throwing at you as competitors, in addition to, standing there trying to solve an acquisition launch problem carrying a 150-pound sack, just make it an interesting, from a viewer's perspective, made it really interesting. But it really goes to, as your team getting out of your comfort zone in a stressful environment, which allows you to kind of as much as we possibly could, maybe simulate what in a mission planning cell and an operations floor, some of the stressors that Guardians will encounter.
No, absolutely. And I think I definitely want my teammates to speak into this as well, because they have some very unique experiences during their time at their time at Delta 9. But one thing that we kind of realized as a team going through not only just the events but also the prep is that physical grit and determination, that artificial stress that is created is really the only way to actually objectively measure your ability to get down, get dirty, and crush the problem set, whatever that may be. And so our training and also our performance in Guardian Arena, I think, was indicative of that mindset where, it may be hard sometimes to make your day-to-day life in force ops as challenging as it will be in conflict, right? Everything, kind of points you away from that. But I think that's where events such as this and the, culture of fitness, it's really a warfighting function. It is that combat training for the things that you cannot emulate very healthily, I would say, in peacetime, which is that ultimate combat stress over weeks and months and your ability to just grind through it.
Yeah. So, as you talk about the kind of culture you have there within Delta 9, Lieutenant Studman, I read something about Odin Cup. Can you tell me a little about Odin Cup? I've never heard that phrase before.
Absolutely, Chief. So Delta 9 has a monthly recurring athletic competition between all the squadrons and all the squadrons within Delta 9. And it rotates between different types of sporting events. We've done soccer, volleyball, track events, all kinds of different competitions. And it really gives the spirit of competition between units and cohesion between your unit as it is. And we'll commit maybe 1 or 2 PTs that month towards training for that specific event. And then when we host it, it's a great opportunity for everybody to see all of your other team members that you don't see at all during the week, and have some healthy competition. I think that really breeds the mentality of working hard and staying fit and working together as a team towards a common goal, especially within Delta 9. It's a big priority of our commanders to have that event monthly.
Yeah, and I guess this goes directly to what the undersecretary was talking about, in that culture, right, of an organization, and the right leaders emphasizing a positive culture like that. And I think it's important, right, because all of you as CGOs, right, you're leaders in your own right at whatever echelon it is. You have mentioned, right, you may lead a team of 10, you might lead a team of 15 or 5, but all of us have influence as leaders, and at every echelon, if we're embracing that, I think, right, that just grows and exponentially, and creates, right, the guardians and the organizations that we need. And then especially for our most youngest, right, brand new second lieutenants and junior enlisted, when they come onto the team, right, and they make that transition from a civilian to a guardian, if that's their initial touch point, and that's what they learn from the beginning, hopefully they become lifelong habits for them. Now, other than, when you talk about an Odin Cup that you do at kind of the Delta level, each of you, in your tactical teams, whether it be mission planning cell or wherever that you work in, do you have things that you do together, kind of build this culture of fitness?
Yes, Chief. It's a priority of our teams to have that time together as small engagement teams to work out together. And we're actually, with SecWar's guidance, publishing a new memo for PT. I'm one of the PT leaders in my unit, and we're publishing guidance basically that supports team members to take their own engagement teams out and work out together, and have that time to do competitions together, to learn from each other for who knows what about fitness, and to support one another through their own individual fitness trainings. And I think that's really important, because you can see the interactions, especially say with our Guardian Arena team, you can see the interactions now on the ops floor when we're working, from that bonding through fitness and through a hard workout. And I think that absolutely carries over into the workplace. So we're encouraging our teammates within the squadron to take time throughout the week to go out and work out together.
Good. I read something, I think, that you, as we were getting ready for this, one of you mentioned, I think, Space Force a Spectre program.
Yes, sir. That was that's one of the ideas that myself, Major Reynolds, Adam Whistler, and this Guardian Arena team have been starting to work through our leadership.
And what is that?
Yes, sir. So it is, to boil down the concept, obviously, with Major Reynolds and his passion for Rangers leading the way, it's effectively trying to figure out how can we not only reward, but also enhance the value of this idea of culture of fitness leading into our operational lifestyles. As we've mentioned, it's absolutely critical to have teams that are willing to do something challenging together, because our day-to-day lives at work are literally designed to be as easy and as repeatable and as risk less as possible. War is not going to be like that, and so one of the big value propositions that we are trying to work towards currently is being able to take a broad swath of guardians, and through challenges just like that, you do in other services such as Ranger School, be able to create teams of elite operators. These are folks that will come from a unit and then go right back to their unit, and these are experts that are not only able to build high-performing teams, but also lead them. And in similar ways to a weapons officer or AIC graduate, have that expansive knowledge set that is more focused rather than on operational perfection, more focused on short-term, quick reaction decision making. And so that's really a concept that we're beginning to write down on paper, and we're hoping folks like you, Chief, will be able to engage with us and get this across the line.
And you said that's something that you guys are locally playing with, working with the Coach Adam.
Yes, Chief. So not just Coach Adam, but after Top Guardian, the then Spock event that they had in the spring, we also had the opportunity to brief Chief Roz on the concept as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. You know, when you think about the connection between, when we talk about human performance overall, and you think the connection between, you know, the knowledge and the skills to execute the mission that's required, but then the physical endurance that also underpins that. As you were going through the stations, did you notice that as you physically were getting tired, it was getting harder to solve the tactical challenges? And did the fatigue also impact your teamwork ability?
I would say
think we
yes,
took
Chief.
sorry.
You can go, sir.
No, all you, Jacob.
Okay, I'll take it. I would say absolutely, Chief. One of our strategies as we worked through the day, we realized that Captain Williams Cohen was the definitely the stronger suit for most of the academic portion. So what we try to do, Caleb and I, is protect him and his brain by taking a lot of the brunt of the physical challenges. Because we realized, especially with the ski erg and similar activities, that when you are exerting yourself at that high aerobic threshold, when you try to come and sit down and think of simple math, it is quite a lot harder.
Yeah.
So that definitely, we adjusted and shifted our mentality and our process throughout the day.
Yeah, and you know that's kind of been one of the talking points about the importance of a holistic health approach and human performance. Because I'll be honest, right? There are some individuals that will say, "Wait, why do I need physical endurance? Why do I need to be physically fit if I'm just really good at orbital mechanics or missile warning or space domain awareness? I'm just sitting at a computer looking at data." But to your point, right? That's not how war and space crisis will unfold. And trying to tell that narrative so that Guardians understand and can measure that is really important. Have you run into similar, you know, for the amount of work that you all put in? Obviously, you're very dedicated to the human performance and the physical aspect to it as well as everything else. But have you run into similar kind of nuances where people are like, well, why do we need to do that? I'm just on a keyboard or on a whiteboard.
Sure, I would love to take this one. I've thought about this a lot, and there's a lot of people in the Space Force, and especially the public, where they look at the Space Force and they just think we're jobs behind a screen, when in reality we deliver lethal implications in a warfighting domain. And part of that is upholding our mental clarity. Sometimes, especially, I'm glad that Undersecretary brought this up, nutrition. If you're eating high sugar processed foods, you're going to get mental fog. You're going to get energy crashes, fatigue. The fitness directly correlates to your mental health and your clarity, and there's a whole rabbit hole you could go down. Just for example, aerobic exercises such as running, biking, all that increase neurogenesis, blood flow, better sleep, and all fight against mental fog. So in a job where it's very technical and you're working behind a screen, thinking fast in a super dynamic environment such as space, fitness is going to directly correlate to that and improve your performance at the job.
Yeah, that's probably, sir, the most succinct way I've heard that explained, and I really appreciate that. And I hope our listeners take that to heart and understand that.
Thank you.
As you were, you know, one of the, again, the aspect that I love about Guardian Arena was that, you know, prior to the start of day 2, you were given a scheme of maneuver where you kind of had an understanding of what the stations were. and you had some time to mission plan, I believe. Can you kind of walk me through what that discussion was like as a team as you were trying to mission plan before you started the day?
Sure. So our team's approach to this was entirely focused on as early a preparation as possible with the information we had at the time, which I believe Mr. Wisser released some aspects of the Day 2 event about 2 or 3 months out. The challenge was it was incomplete, right? And you can only plan for what you know. And I think this is as we work through, and especially in Delta 9, some of the larger operational plans for the Space Force supporting, our joint warfighters, is we don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know how things are going to change. And so even from 2 months out, we all sat down as a team and planned out and came up with contingencies, exactly what we think could happen. And it wasn't prescriptive, but it was a framework. And as we got more information over time, over those 2 months leading up till about 5 minutes before the actual event started, we were able to adjust and account for these small changes and adapt our plan to which, we had focused on the framework of rather than the details of to meet not only the changing conditions that we were experiencing, but also even our own individual team fatigue, as Lieutenant Stedman mentioned, when they so graciously took the majority of the physical events away from me near the end of the competition.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I would add also that when it came to the day of and the moments right before the execution, since we had that framework of the previous plan of what we thought we were going to do, we could focus on the tiny things to save us mere seconds. So in that last event, we already had the plan created of how we would approach it. And then instead of talking about how we're going to actually solve the larger problem, we're talking about how to save half a second with how we're going to lift the bag all this together and get it over onto our shoulders. It allowed us to have more minute adjustments throughout by having that set up ahead of time.
Were you constantly replanning as you were going through?
Absolutely, Chief. Throughout the whole time. Very iterative process.
Was there, again, watching it from afar, and even Dave Castro, right, before he unveiled the final event, and he had all of you on the stands as you were waiting to find out what that final hurdle was going to be, had said that he had a vision in his mind what he thought was going to be that final event. But after watching you, after seeing the grueling 13 other events that the team had gone through, he had to readjust because what the team had already set out for you was harder than he originally thought we were going to do. And coming from Dave Castro, I mean, hey, that's a compliment, right? That's something you can pound your chest on and say, hey, the Guardian Arena was so challenging that even he was like, wow, it's more than what I thought it was going to be. I have to replan what I thought that final event was going to be. But in that context, as you're running through it, were there any thoughts of giving up, just stopping?
Never, Chief.
Yeah, I think that that was one of the things that was really impressive. I think all the teams made it. I don't think all the teams completed all the 14 courses, but I'm not aware. I'm not tracking any team that just said we can't give any more. That we're done. I think until the whistle blew, I think it was at 1500 that day. I think everyone was pushing and continuing to go, and then everyone competed. I think in the final event, all 35 teams. So it's just so impressive to see, and everyone was still smiling in a good mood after all that. I mean,
absolutely, Chief. I think that is resemblant of the culture that at least I think the people that at Guardian Arena are trying to create in the Space Force. So kind of smiling through the hard parts and just knowing when you have to put your head down and go. I think our team was really good at that. We really kind of enjoyed the suck and found peace, and this is what we're going to be locking into for the next few hours. I think that's a culture that could definitely be carried over to our units.
Yeah. General Saltzman, his time is so compressed. So, the time that he was able to spend with us on the field of play and watch the final event, and when that last team was struggling to try and get across the finish line, doing the knee bends or the squats, and everyone rallied around them, cheering them on to get across the finish line, and the pain, the suffering that team was going through, but they never gave up. He said, this is exactly when you talk about the guardian spirit and the culture we're trying to create, that, it was just a prime example of, in his mind, what it means to be a guardian and the culture that we're trying to create.
I also want to shout out, the fact that we had our 3 and 4 star command teams actively cheering us on, smiling and fist bumping us, and all the other teams as well as we were going through it was fantastic. Because I also wanted to shout out to our Delta and squadron leaderships that not only gave us the time and the freedom to train for this, but our deputy mission Delta commander, Colonel Stockham, was actually running with the team for about a third of the Garden Arena, helping supply us motivation and data. And Colonel Horn, Colonel Grofflin, Colonel Smith, all those, and Colonel Shaw, as well as the support team that we had from within the Delta 9, from the tactical teams that were supporting us. What Lieutenant Coleman said of we weren't going to quit, that's because a large part of how much was invested into us and the faith that was given into us. Didn't want to let them down, and infinitely thankful they helped us get through it.
That's great. So do you have the trophy? Were you able to bring the trophy home? Did you get it yet?
Yes, Chief. The trophy's currently with Colonel Horn. He's keeping it safe for us.
Yeah.
It got home to Schriever.
Some bragging rights you guys got?
Absolutely, Chief.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Well, I'm hoping, and I think you've already expressed interest, but I don't know if you're not going to be competitors again next year. Definitely as we roll into, start to prepare in early 2026 to execute Guardian Arena in December of 2026. I'm hoping the experience, everything that you've learned, maybe you can help plan and execute Guardian Arena next year.
Oh, for sure, Chief. I think our team has a hard decision to make of, are we going to try again and get another back-to-back, or if we want to switch to the planning side. And I think that's a hard one for me by myself. I have a lot of ideas for how we can make it harder, more complex, or for me personally, coming from that running background, aid stations, I have a lot of experience with that. So there's different ways that I think we can all contribute, either by competing or planning. I think you'll see all of us next year in some respect.
All right. So actually, that's good. Was this all your first time competing in Garden Arena, or have you done it before?
First time, Chief.
Yeah. There was one, I think, at the barbecue on Tuesday night. They gave an award. I think it was to Colonel McSorley, I think the name is. He's done all 3. And I said to him, man, one wasn't enough. you wanted to do all 3. But hey, more power to the Guardians who have the capacity to do that. I know that I'm too old for that. I wouldn't be able to do it. But I love going there and cheering all of you on and see just how the teams work together. And the other thing too, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out. Obviously, I'm talking a lot about Guardians, but for the arena, let's just make sure that for those of you who were not there, when we talk about Guardians and the competitors that were in the arena, we had Guardians. Obviously, we had officers, enlisted Guardians, we had civilian Guardians, we had airmen, we had a sailor, we had one of our international partners from Australia. So it was a really good representation of the community of the space professionals that execute the mission of the Space Force, who are embedded in the teams with us every day to help execute the mission and get it done. So it was great to kind of see that inclusiveness also. So hopefully that continues on in the years out. But hey, well, teammates, I think we're coming towards the end of our time here, and I wanted to again congratulate you on being the winners of Guardian Arena 3. You have absolutely earned that right, that bragging right. You did phenomenally well, and I really do appreciate it. And I thank you again for sharing your perspective, sharing what kind of got you to the high performing team that you were on the field, and hopefully other leaders that are out there are looking to grow and develop strong, high-performing teams. They took some notes today, and they're trying to pick up and emulate some of the things that you have drove forward yourselves personally, and then the leaders that directly allowed you to compete the way that you did. So I want to say thank you to them. As always, General Saltzman and I appreciate all of you for everything that you're doing every single day. Like I said, today is the December 17th. So as we're rolling into the holidays, I wish all of you that you have a safe holiday. Take a knee when you can. Spend time with family and loved ones. And I hope all of you who are embedded in Delta 9 get a chance to, I know you'll be working shift and doing things there, and whether you're in your commit ready or prepare phase. But to all of you, I hope you get a time to appreciate and take a knee with family and loved ones. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for your time, Chief.
I appreciate it. All right, so this is the end of the Perigee Podcast. So again, this is Chief B9 wishing all of you happy holidays. You're going to hear this in January. And I hope to see you again out on the field. I'm out here.